Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back once again to Honest J. Nowak, Marque of the Line. And for this episode in particular, let's just get on going from Italy back to France, because I've already talked a little bit about one particular French company out there, but I feel like it's time to move on from Citroën, or Citroën if you prefer, to Peugeot. Yeah. Peugeot is another French company, obviously, but the thing is, it has a lot of distinguishments when you compare it to that of what Citroën had to offer. It does not necessarily have all the big things that Citroën was able to accomplish on its own, nor does it necessarily have all in particular of what many other companies in the industry were able to utilize to the best of their potential benefits. The thing is, though, Peugeot still does thrive pretty well for a good reason. One in particular would be that it's looked pretty well by Gran Turismo. As a matter of fact, maybe in the latest Gran Turismo title, we might be able to see another Vision Gran Turismo catalog, and Peugeot might be one of many that are a part of it. And I guess a second one that I might as well go on ahead and mention right away is that, well, it still has a rather big catalog when it comes to vehicles of all sorts. Whether we're talking about coupes, sedans, convertibles, or maybe the typical sort of crossover or hybrid of any sort, Peugeot will certainly be there to give you some good first-hand offers on what you can potentially find at any point in time. But Peugeot is certainly not necessarily without a lot of its own primary quirks because, well, let's just say, if you're very familiar with some YouTube channels out there in existence, like Seb Colifor or Doug DeMuro, One Owner Car Guy, Cereal Marshmallows, or maybe even this one that's all the way out in England, then you're probably very familiar that some people have actually gone ahead to go ahead and review certain Peugeot models out there, including the RCZ. That to this day still does probably remain one of my most favorite models out there in that particular industry. But when we're looking to the past of what Peugeot had to offer back then, it's probably not too surprising, but at the same time, it was a bit big for its time period. Not all European auto manufacturers were at the greatest during the 80s and 90s, but man, Peugeot was pretty much right there, becoming its own underdog in the industry, and also really clutching on to some potential profits and other benefits that you could potentially get with most companies themselves. So of course, that tends to be a big thing about Peugeot and how it was able to thrive successfully and even avoid one of the greatest disasters in modern America, the recession. Yeah, it's something that I'm going to keep referring to throughout this whole time. I pretty much know that. So, I guess we'll just leave it out just for this one moment, because the thing about Peugeot, to summarize, is that it started off on a light foot, picked its way up by climbing a bit of a mountain to eventually gain popularity throughout the world and still be well known by millions. So, again, it's hard to tell what you could potentially find out of Peugeot based on what you could indeed identify about what new concepts are going to arrive, and more importantly, how is it going to hold up in the future. Because not every industry might be able to survive, especially with how big of damage the recession was able to cause. But then again, if you take a look at how big a lot of new generation companies out there, including Tesla and Genesis, they're somehow able to become very well known and really get a lot of profits on them. I guess I can't really go too far without seeing either of these cars out there on the streets these days. But again, that's just me talking about the fact that these brands might become as successful as possible one day. We might even see others, like Polestar and Lucid, really go up higher in the faces of the automotive industry. They'll rise through the ranks and probably become some of the best known in the industry. Who knows? But for right now, Peugeot is probably average. It's something that I know pretty well because I tend to really get onto that kind of stuff all the time. I tend to pay more attention to this in conjunction to Ford, Chevrolets, Hondas, Toyotas, Nissans, and all that good stuff. But again, that's just me simply saying that I really know that it might become successful one of these days. So that's pretty much it for today, but if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.